My name is Gunnar Sullivan, and I am the secretary on the board of directors for the One Shot Turkey Hunt. So in 2022, I believe it was, I took a job for Outdoor Mentors, and they were already partnering with the One Shot on the youth hunting portion of the hunt. And my boss had suggested me as a guide to Jared Nichols, I believe. So Jared had talked to Doc Rinsner, and Doc Rinsner gave me a call and worked me through his myriad of questions, and when he was happy with the answers, he brought me to the hunt. So every year I feel like I've had really cool hunters to guide. I feel really privileged with the hunters they've paired me with each year. The first year they gave me Brian Johnson to guide. We go out the first day and it was pretty uneventful. We saw some birds, but nothing worth shooting. So the next day I had talked to Darren Jackson, and Darren had told me he had a place he could take me or show me, and we'd get on a bird. So that morning it just starts downpouring. It was horrible, horrible rain, and I was like, all right, Brian, you know, we got to go out. You got to get a bird for my first year. And we see a bunch of turkeys off at this kind of tree row off to the right. So I tell Brian, why don't you hike over this berm? You stay at this end, and then I'll go around the other end in the truck, and I'll kind of push him towards you. Maybe 20 seconds after he crosses this berm, I can't see Brian anymore, and a strike of lightning comes down. And I was positive I had just killed my hunter in the first year. So I go over the berm, and I look, and Brian's laying on the ground. He comes out and we talk, and I asked him, you know, if he had got hit, and he said no, but it was close enough it knocked him down. Brian decided then that his turkey trip was over. He had had enough adventure, so that was my first year. It started off eventful, and so back at the banquet, they had asked if I could take out Macy Watkins, who they had brought in as a celebrity hunter. So we went out that next morning, and Macy was able to harvest a bird. And then the next year, True Timber had sent down with Murray Road Agency Bryce Todd as a hunter. That was probably one of my funner hunts I've ever had. Bryce was just an awesome hunter to take out, but it was chaotic from start to finish. So the first day we sat out and we see some turkeys out in the field, and they're working towards us. We had a cameraman from the Murray Road Agency filming. So about halfway from the turkeys coming to us, Bryce is like, we're talking back and forth. He starts laughing and the shotgun falls over and the turkeys run off. So we say, okay, that's not a big deal. And we decide after a while we're gonna go grab lunch. So on the way out, we see a bunch of turkeys just on the other side of a stacked limestone wall. So I said, all right, let's hide behind this wall. I'll call to them, and once we get them close, I'll tell you when they're close, just hop up and shoot them like a pheasant. So I'm peeking through a hole in the wall, and Bryce is hidden behind me. When I start to think they're close enough, I go, okay, stand up and shoot. And Bryce stands up and just barely shot over the top of them. So I said, all right, not a big deal, we'll go get lunch. So we go eat lunch, we come back, and as we're coming back down the road, we see a bunch of turkeys off to the side again. The property we were hunting was behind a friend of mine's house. And so in his backyard, you have like a pool, you have a kid's play set, and he had a bunch of guineas and chickens and ducks he had been raising that year. So we see these, and I said, all right, I got a plan. We get out of the truck and we work up to my friend's propane tank. And so now we're hiding behind there. So it's Bryce, me, and the filmographer for Murray Road. So then we work from the propane tank up to my friend's wood pile. And we call the turkeys, they start to come around. About the time they're about to come around, a flock of ducks, guineas, and chickens start standing right next to us. So now Bryce is sitting in front of me with his weight on my knees, and there's a duck standing right next to Bryce just going quack, 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 quack. And right about that point, the turkeys come out to maybe 10 feet. And the first two are Jake's, and so they start to walk by us. And that duck is still sitting there, quack, quack, quack. And I said, all right, wait, you know, there's a tom behind him. Just about the time the tom's about to come around, we turned behind us, and a semi-truck had pulled up and was filling the propane tank. So we had a duck quacking at us, and behind us, maybe 10 feet, we had a guy filling a propane tank, and we just like to laugh. We still talk every once in a while, and we just talk about the chaos of that hunt, and not your typical habitat. We had a swing set off to our side that we were blocking ourselves with, so just always a fun experience. I feel blessed to get to go hunting personally a lot. I get to take a lot of kids and friends hunting. The one thing I don't get a lot is to be around so many like-minded people in one setting. There's a lot of guys I really look up to in the hunt. Governor Hayden's one, Steve Seymour, Kim Gonzalez is another one I really admire. There's a handful of people that I really am impressed with as hunters, and then there's a lot more that I'm really impressed with as human beings. So I've always enjoyed the fellowship side of it, and I've enjoyed creating lifelong relationships with a lot of the other guides, board members, and hunters as well. Every year so far I've taken new people. And with that being said, I talk to all of them nearly monthly still. A lot of them are great friends, and right now I'm scheduling a hunt out on the East Coast to go sea duck hunting with one of the guys I had taken previously. It's just kind of a microcosm of the relationships we've formed. My hunter this year handmade me a turkey call, and he said it was one of 5, and he said it's the first edition Rodney Turner call. So that was really special. I don't think those relationships are unique to me. This year I took Rodney Turner and his son Griffin Turner. And Griffin Turner every year had been going with a close friend and a mentor and a guide for us, David Marble. David, in the last few years, has come down with cancer and he was really struggling. So this year he said he couldn't be part of it. I was already going to take Rodney, and I said, I'll take your son as well. So I took them both out, and I was really touched. I really enjoyed that Griffin took an extra day on the back end of our trip so that he could go to the hospital and talk to Dave. Dave ended up passing away a couple weeks after that, and we laughed, and at his funeral we were talking about how Griffin wanted to get a turkey so bad so he could smuggle it into the hospital. And he said, I'll put it in a backpack, I don't care, what are they going to do, kick me out? I just love to see that it's so mutual and everyone has such great friendships and relationships that turn out to be lifelong. I think that we've built a great framework to ensure that this is going to still be around for a long time and something that is easily expandable and scalable. I look forward to seeing the conservation expanded. I also look forward to seeing the economic impact of this. Brian Johnson, who I took out the first year as my hunters from Marvin Windows, the facility they ended up building in Kansas City was a $77 million project of over 400,000 square feet facility. A lot of that can be contributed directly to the relationships that Brian was able to form at this hunt. It was very important to him to get to meet a lot of these individuals that he would be working with, and I felt like we did a great job of being able to facilitate that for him as well as other individuals in the future.